What I'd like to do today is demonstrate how I adjust the rebound damping of the rear shock on my ST1300. The ST1300 has a relatively simple rear shock absorber with only two adjustments, one for preload and one for the rebound. We're not going to mess with the preload today, only the rebound adjustment. I have the bike sitting vertical in a wheel chock so I can press down on the rear of the bike and observe how it reacts. If you don't have a wheel chock, you would need the help of a couple of friends to hold the bike upright while you do this. Since the action of the rear shock absorber converts friction into heat, that would be transferred to the oil, and the heat of the oil may affect the action of the rear shock. So to most accurately do this adjustment, you would want the motorcycles warmed up, maybe ridden 20 or 30 miles, so the rear shock has had a chance to come up to operating temperature. I'm told they can sometimes heat up to 130, 140 degrees at the reservoir when the bike's ridden hard. The goal and the reason that we have a suspension on a motorcycle is not only for the smooth ride, but it also best manages the available traction of the tires against the road. The goal of this adjustment of the rebound is to have the bike, when you hit a bump, the shock's compressed, it extends back to the at-rest position smoothly and quickly, it doesn't overshoot, and then oscillate back and forth as it tries to find its equilibrium. You want a smooth return and no bouncing. That simulates hitting a bump and the rebound. On the 1300, the rear shock adjustment is on the outboard side of the shock, down low on the shock body. It's a screw. You change it with a flat-bladed screwdriver, and you can access the shock through the hole in the frame here. First thing I'm going to do is tuck in my shirt, or make sure it's tucked in, so that Dinky Diesel doesn't broadcast my crack on the internet. I love you, Paul. I'm just kidding. The first thing I'm going to do, besides tuck in my shirt, is turn the screw fully counterclockwise. Go easy on the screw as it comes up against the stop. You don't need to jam it open and damage the valve internally. With it screwed all the way out, that's the fastest rebound adjustment. Honda calls it soft, the S position. I think you can see how the bike rebounds much faster. It bounces a little bit, and with my scrawny body pushing down on it. If you're really to hit a bump, it would really pogo. And that's the problem with it set up like this. It'd be going down the road, the back of the motorcycle up and down, and the weight of the motorcycle overreacting can actually reduce the available traction for the rear wheel, because the bike lifts off the pavement. It may not totally come off the pavement, but it's like going over a rise very quickly. Momentarily, you lose traction. So let's turn it all the way in to the full hard position. Again, go easy on the screw. When it comes up against the stop, just seat it lightly. And this is the other extreme of the rebound adjustment. I think you can see how much more slowly it returns. The problem with this over adjustment is that the bike never gets the chance to return to the at-rest position. Going down the road, we always hit a series of bumps. Unless the road is perfectly smooth, and with it rebounding so slowly, it doesn't get a chance. The rear spring wants to extend, but the shock does not allow it to. So before it extends again to normal, you hit another bump, and then another bump, and then another bump, and eventually the shock is fully compressed and it cannot rebound quickly enough. That's called packing down. If we were going around a corner over a series of sharp bumps, the back of the bike would feel very nervous and it would skitter. It actually might low side because the rear wheel leaves the pavement. So now I'll put it back to the adjustment that I like best on this particular shock, the way I ride this bike, which is about 1 3/8 turn out. This bike has almost 100,000 miles on it. It's the third shock, and it's been modified lightly by Racetech with a gold valve, which changed the way it reacted from the stock. So I can't really compare that adjustment to a stock one, except to say that on my stock shock and this one, I really can't tell much difference riding from about 1 1/4 turns to 2 turns or more. I'm simply not good enough of a rider, and maybe the shock is just not that good enough for me to be able to tell. So what I do is adjust it here the best I can, and then I go ride it. I leave it about 1 3/8 turns. I'm light. I don't usually ride with a lot of cargo and no passengers, so that works well for me. But if I was on a trip and I was loaded down with 50 or 60 pounds of camping gear, the bike would be moving around more. It'd be rebounding a bit faster, so I might speed up, or I would slow down the rebound a little, turn it in a 1/4 turn. That seems to work well for me. Otherwise, I pretty much leave it where I set it here in the garage, and that's all there is to it.